mother still hurting. I just want to tell you I'm sorry. I know what love is. Jesus, he showed me this. You can't find love in your heart until you start to forgive. You need to
Hello. Thank you for joining me. Hello, Veritas 1993. Thanks so much for joining me. Hey, Rat-a-tat-tat. Welcome. This is your first day on Periscope. Awesome. Thanks for joining me. Hello. Hey, everybody. Hello. How is everybody doing? Hey, Leg Man. Thank you so much for joining me. That's a nice name. Are you a bodybuilder or something? At any rate, I am Stephanie McNeal-Brown, and I am the founder of Grow Women. And Grow Women is a nonprofit organization based in Tampa Bay, whose purpose is to help women to grow body, spirit, and soul. And I am Stephanie McNeal-Brown, a forgiveness coach, and you can find me at stephaniemcnealbrown.com. And why am I a forgiveness coach, might you ask? Because people say, I've never heard of a forgiveness coach. Well, I hadn't either until God called me to be one. And the reason he called me to be one is because I was bitter and I was angry. And yet he had given me this calling to be a minister of reconciliation. So how ironic is that? The person that needs it the most was called to do it, to talk about it. And so this is my journey of forgiveness, because forgiveness is a choice. It really is. It's not a feeling, you know, it is a choice. And then the journey begins. So today's topic is one that is near, and I won't say, well, I will say it's dear. I will say it's near and dear to my heart, because it has been a common thread since my childhood, you see, because my dad had a side chick. He had several side chicks, but there was one in particular that I was drawn into it. And so that's what I'm talking to you today on this scope. So as you know, as I said, I am the founder of Grow Women, and all this month I've been talking about hashtag forgiveness is a gift, because forgiveness really is a gift. It's a gift that you give to yourself, and it's a gift that you give to the person that offends you. And this can be, the person can be dead or alive, because guess what? My dad is gone, and I know for sure that he is in heaven, and that I'm going to see him I'm going to see him again. So today, how this whole thing came about forgive your father's side chick is, you know, like every day I'm focusing on a different person that you might need to forgive in your life. And it was just dropped in my spirit by God, I believe, to talk about today forgiving your daddy's side chick. And I feel that I need to share a little bit about my story and how this whole thing has come full circle for me. So if you are on the scope, if you are listening to the scope, or if you are listening to the replay or the video, and your dad had a side chick, I want you to listen in. And as you're listening, I want you to really be thinking and pondering in your heart whether or not you need to forgive your daddy's side chick, or do you need to forgive your daddy? Because I know, and I say that, this whole thing about infidelity has been a thread in my life, because I grew up knowing that my dad had a side chick, but I also grew up and I married a man who had a side chick and several side chicks. And so that whole thing about infidelity, it's a spirit, and it is a familiar spirit. And I say all the time, and I got this, I learned it from my friend Trey Kearney, is that you attract who you are. Okay, so because I had this spiritual thread of infidelity, when I met my husband, even though he looked nothing like my dad, because I thought I was marrying someone who was completely the opposite from my dad, but that familiar spirit that had attached to him was attached to me. And so we were attracted each other spiritually and didn't even know it. I just want you to think about that for a moment. This whole thing about infidelity is a spirit. And so you know that you can't fight spiritual battles in the flesh, which is what I did for so many years, which is how I got to be bitter. Okay, so I came on here today, especially for those of you whose dad had a side chick. And so I wanted to share a little bit about my story in hopes that you will identify your story, that you will begin to ponder in your heart whether or not you need to forgive your daddy's side chick. And why is it important for you to forgive your daddy's side chick? The reason that it is important is because once you forgive your daddy's side chick, and anybody else for that matter, it unlocks everything that's stuck in your life. And I believe that with every thread of my being. I believe that unforgiveness is the source of why and how we get stuck in our lives. Take that in. Yeah, that's a mouthful, but I dare you to ponder in your own heart. I dare you to look at other people's lives and you see the destruction that some people bring to their own lives. And I bet you that once you peel the layers of all of those onions back, that there is some unforgiveness there. And once you clear out that unforgiveness, you are free to live your life. You're free to be the person that you know that you want to be, the person that you are inside, so that ultimately you can live your destiny. All right, so why else is it important? Well, that's the big thing, is that it unlocks your destiny. All right, so you might be wondering, okay, now I see why, because I'm stuck. I want to get free. I want to be free. I don't want to be angry anymore. I don't want to be bitter. I don't want to be resentful. I don't want to be impatient. I don't want to be, sarcastic. I don't want to be, just like, I can't think of anything else, but there are so many manifestations of unforgiveness. But here is a test to see whether or not you need to forgive your daddy's side chick, okay? So, and I actually took this test myself, because let me just share a little bit more about my story, okay? So my dad had a wife. My mom was actually his second wife. He had a family before he married my mom, and there were 3 children in that family. And so my whole entire life, I wanted and desired to have a relationship with them. I wanted to have a close relationship with them, but because of the circumstances and because of my own immaturity, I was unable to have, you know, a right relationship with them. Okay, so fast forward, you know, many years, and my dad's side chick, you know, the one that I discovered that I have some more forgiveness to do, well, there was a baby that was born out of that relationship. And so what happened earlier in this year, I attended the funeral of someone in my family, and he was there. And so he is 30 years old. He, from all that I can tell, is a wonderful young man. He has a beautiful family, and he's an entrepreneur, and he seems to be doing quite well for his life. And so we had a conversation. He approached me and he said to me, well, first of all, when I saw him, I was like, oh my God, because I just felt like, you know, I wasn't ready to have that conversation. I wasn't ready really to have any conversation with him because as that conversation pointed out to me, was that I still had some forgiveness to do of his mom. Because remember, I said forgiveness is a choice, and then the journey begins. And yes, I had, you know, said to myself, and I forgave her for as much as I could at the time. I just so happened to read this book. It's called A Divine Revelation of Hell. And if you have not read that book, oh my goodness, you need to go read it. You actually can Google it and read it free online. So I read this book, and this book tells an account of all this lady who says that she went to hell. And this book is a testimony of what she saw. And so she reports about she writes about different little vignettes of what she saw in hell. And so that one, like, I read that book about like half of the book, like the first night that I ever picked it up. And so when I put that book down, it was a Friday night. When I put that book down, I got on my face and I prayed to God, and I cried out to God and said, I forgive her, because there were two people in my life that I said that I would never, ever, ever forgive. And that was my daddy's side chick, and it was my family member that molested me when I was a child. But guess what? I don't want to go to hell, and I definitely don't want, you know, unforgiveness to send me there. So I got on my face and I asked God I told God that I forgave her. And at that point, I let it go. And I even took it a step further. I called her up and I told her that I forgave her. I just felt led to do that. And so I did that. It was a choice. I did that. And I forgave her for as much as I could at that time. And I did it, you know, like with my whole heart. I really did forgive her. However, when God called me on this journey to be a minister of reconciliation, I learned that there are levels to forgiveness. There are levels to it. Okay. And it is a process. And so that's where I was in my process with that. And the fact that my brother came to me and talked to me, and I'm going to share with you what he said. So we were having a conversation. He said to me, I don't want anything from you. I just want a relationship with you. And I was like, oh my God. Because the first thing that I thought about was that the fact that growing up, all I wanted was a relationship with my siblings, the ones that I had been estranged from for so many years. And I was like, oh my gosh, here I am in the same position. Like, I know exactly how he feels. Like that longing, like you're missing out on something and wanting a sibling and wanting that closeness with them and all of that. And you know what? Even though I could identify and I knew intimately how he felt, it was just really, I just like, I realized I still got some forgiveness work to do with his mom. So how can I tell, and how can you tell whether or not you need to forgive your daddy's side chick? Okay, so I have 3 questions for you. Okay, number 1, do you still have any negative thoughts towards your daddy's side chick? And I had to answer, yes. I still had negative thoughts about her, because every time I would see her, every time I would think about her, I would feel some kind of way. I would think about how she threw me into the middle of their relationship. Let me take that back, because it wasn't just her. How they threw me in the middle of their side of their relationship, and how they made me as an excuse to be together. So I immediately thought about that. So I still have negative thoughts about my dad's side chick. Do you have negative thoughts about your dad's side chick? If you do, you still got work to do, okay? Number 2, do you have negative feelings about your dad's side chick? That's another telltale sign that you need to forgive. You still got some work to do. And yes, I still had negative feelings towards her, because again, I felt like, they put me in the middle, and I was an innocent child. And I know I got to work through that, and I'm working through that. All right. And then negative actions. Do you still have negative actions towards your daddy's side chick? And I'd have to say, yes, I did, because every time I see her, I want to go the other way. I want to just totally avoid her. And so, not that she's going to be my best friend ever. However, you know what? When you can forgive someone, when you truly can forgive someone, you no longer have negative thoughts, feelings, or actions towards that person, that place, or that thing. And that person that situation can be dead to you, meaning that it has no effect on you, meaning that you don't attach anything to that memory, that there's nothing negative attached to that memory. So therefore you are free. And so I am going to be working on this, because I really want to have a relationship with him. He is a wonderful young man, from what I can tell. I could tell that he has a big heart. And so, and in addition, he's a part of my dad, and I love my dad. And so, there's something beautiful that can become of that. So at any rate, I thank you guys for joining me. Thank you guys for hanging with me. If you know someone whose daddy was a side chick, I invite you to share this scope with them. I'm going to post this on YouTube, because I know this fits a lot of people, and sometimes it's in the center of a lot of our daddy issues, because we saw our dads do things that, really caused some hurt from us as a child. And so I wanted to share this with you so you can break free from it, okay? So anyways, thank you guys so much for joining. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this, I'm asking you to follow me here on Periscope, to look me up on Facebook. That is facebook.com/Grow Women. And so I just want to leave you with this thought. And I said it twice already. Forgiveness is a choice, and then the journey begins. And there's also levels to that journey. But I tell you, it is worth it. It is so worth it, because if I hadn't gone forward in my journey, I wouldn't be talking to you right now, today, saying what I'm saying, and I wouldn't be free, because it truly is the key, the master key that unlocks everything. It unlocks everything that's been stuck in your life. So I hope you have an awesome day, and I'll talk to you next time.